Welcome, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that new music. I don't know what that was. We used StreamYard, but they switched it up for us, and I actually kind of like it. It's nice. Not as ominous as our previous intro music.
I was going to ask you what new vibes you were feeling on this Friday.
We are definitely feeling new vibes. Welcome to another Microsoft Unboxed pod. This is episode 48. I am your host today, Kareem Anderson. I'm joined by.
David Allen, hope everybody is to stay on our music trend. Hope everybody's jamming out there for this Friday and ready for this pod.
Yeah, we are post Valentine's Day. Hopefully, you've eaten all your chocolate, gotten that out of the way. Now you're on to whatever else you celebrate on Fridays. Go get some good food, have a great weekend, touch the grass, meet some people, have conversations, play some games, do all of the above. While you're doing that, if you are interested in some Microsoft news, we got some for you. We are going to be talking about the Xbox supporting larger hard drives. We're going to be talking about Microsoft's big quantum leap, pun intended. We're going to be talking about Black Hawk Down, and it's coming out, I believe, this weekend, is if I'm not mistaken, or soon.
It's out today.
There we go. Microsoft Edge upgrading to Web UI 2.0, and what that means for you and your web browser if you happen to use Edge. Apple offered a budget iPhone, and people were upset about that, ironically. We'll be talking about Intel also doubling down on handhelds. So they are also confirming that handheld is a new segment that they're very interested in. We'll be talking about Amazon also shuttering a lot of its app stores and the reason why it's doing that. And we have a tangential story about a VP on LinkedIn admitting that, hey, gaming wasn't going well for them. And he has a couple examples on why. With that being said, I'm going to shut up and let my host take over from here.
All right, let's roll. Let's see what we have here. Let's jump into some Xbox hard drives because, as my co host mentioned, in order to play these games we're going to talk about, you've got to have somewhere to store these things. And as we keep pushing for fidelity and frame rate, we got to have storage. So Microsoft finally, because I've always wondered why they didn't do this before, has decided, at least on that platform, to help us out. You can now connect hard drives of any size to your Xbox. Now, there is some caveats to this. What it will do, if it is a drive over 16 terabytes, it will create partitions 16 terabytes for each 16 terabytes that you have. So, for example, if you connect a 20 terabyte hard drive, which they do exist, I think there's 20, 22, and 24 as far as spinning disk hard drives. So if you connect anything over 16 terabytes, it's going to create a 16 terabyte partition and then give you a second partition for whatever's left over. Now, don't get excited yet. You can't play those Xbox Series X and S titles off of this hard drive. You've still got to have Microsoft's expensive high-speed storage to be able to play the games. But what this does allow you to do is, if you've got a slower internet connection or you don't have time to wait for your titles to download, you want to play it a little quicker, you can copy games from your console over to this hard drive and store them, and then you can fill your hard drive on your Xbox full of games. And when you want these older titles or ones you don't play as often, you can then copy them back from this hard drive. And if you've downloaded many Xbox Series X games, you can see that a lot of times they are hundreds of gigs in size these days. So thank you, Microsoft, for finally allowing basically any hard drive to be connected to the Xbox. I was hoping we would get this back in the last generation, but at least we're getting it now.
Yeah, better late than never. I also am enjoying the way that this integration works. I wonder if this is a precursor, though, for the next Xbox. Are they going to basically skimp on hard drive space in order to make a smaller device that will, have come without the optical drive, come without the massive hard drive, installed hard drive for opting to support external hard drives and a way to kind of link chain your games and say, hey, you guys could be free to buy whatever size ones you want. You could buy I forget the cloud server ones, where you can do, massive amounts of storage or whatever. And we just allow you to link it to the device. That allowed us to make a smaller, quieter, less prone for breaking because there are less things that are moving or at least operating all at once device. I wonder if that's where they're going with this. What do you think?
See now you brought up something new there that I would like to see, and I'm probably not the only user that would like to see this. A lot of people, especially these content creators like us that do videos and podcasts regularly, have what's called a NAS sitting in their house, which is network attached storage, where you usually have mass amounts of storage sitting on your network, your home network somewhere, to where you can store things. It would be nice, Microsoft, since the kernel on the Xbox is Windows based, if we could get access to those shared spaces and take advantage of these multi-gig networks that are in some people's houses these days and just copy these games as one file to a NAS and be able to access them that way. Now, to your point, I'm kind of back and forth on that because there's PCIe 5 NVMe storage out there that we see in these mini PCs. We see them in the PCs on the shelf, and basically the NVMe drives to me for people to have something to reference is like a RAM stick.
Mm-hmm.
So I've often wondered, why does Microsoft have the external storage to start with? Why didn't we just put an NVMe drive in the console itself and not have to worry with these external storage packs? Now, I get from a marketing standpoint, that's an accessory. You mark that accessory up some, you make the profit margins. I get that. But as far as a new console, I would just prefer they take an NVMe drive and put an NVMe drive in there and let you swap it out, which I think that other console that is not Xbox, that is made by Sony, allows you to do, if I'm not mistaken. I believe you can, if you use a certain model of NVMe, I believe you can swap the storage on a PlayStation.
Yeah. Last I checked, but it's also an expensive process too, and they use proprietary support and things like that initially. So, uh, yeah, it's interesting how storage will be potentially the next forefront for these things, as I'm assuming both these companies want to move to the cloud ish. They want to move all your games to download. They don't want to have to print physical copies anymore. That way, again, it's part of the DRM uh, contingent of like, hey, we loan you these games. We're allowed to take them back when we need to, and represent them when we want to, milk you for more money kind of situation. But it's unfortunate.
Unless you have an outage like last week.
Hey, the outages will come and go. You will not see a rebate for any of that, unfortunately.
That's true.
With that being said, we're going to move on to talk about the cloud. Microsoft's next big thing, and it's actually one of their old things. For those of you old enough to remember, all the way back to, I don't know, what is that, 7-ish, 8 years ago, Satya Nadella had a hard on for quantum computing. That was his thing. Before AI, his little baby, aside from killing Windows Phone, was to talk about quantum computing. And it looks like Microsoft is, they've been quietly working on this while they've been kind of parading AI around. But the two worlds are now collided with Microsoft unveiling, I don't even know how to pronounce this, Majorana, Morjana.
That's why this is your headline and not mine.
Majorana. It's Majorana 1, the world's first quantum processor powered by topical qubits. This breakthrough promises to scale quantum computing to 1 million qubits on a single chip. It's huge. It's huge news. It's impressive. But to be quite honest with you, I don't know very much about quantum computing. So I'm gonna read off some of the benefits of this For those of you who are out there that do know this, please write in, educate us as well. I just want to make sure that we are informing our audience that, hey, Microsoft's got a new processing chip that they are planning on using to help basically speed up AI development. The topical qubits, basically, the research is published in Nature, demonstrates the ability to harness a new type of material that engineer a radically different type of qubit that is small, fast, and digitally controlled. Their roadmap basically is for a single qubit device to array that enables quantum error correction. So again, massive amounts of computing all at once to shorten the error rates for some of these things. Microsoft is on track to build an FTP of a scalable quantum computer in years, not decades, as part of the DARPA US 2Q program, 2QC program. A top O conductor, a breakthrough class of materials enabling topological superconductivity, which is basically a new state of matter. The measurement technique uses digital switches to couple nanowires to a quantum dot, increasing the dot's ability to hold charge and measure quantum information. The other benefit they have with this new development is quantum control, which is a measurement-based approach simplifying quantum error corrections activated by a simple digital pulse. Uh, they're going to try and make this a scalable architecture, which will be built around a single qubit device called a tetraron, leading systematically towards scalable quantum error correction. We mentioned the DARPA recognition earlier. Microsoft selected for the final phase of the DARPA US2Q program, validating the roadmap of building a fault-tolerant quantum computer. Lastly, the quantum supercomputer, which is again, this is the thing that Microsoft and DARPA are about to build within probably the next 5 years versus the next decade, aims to build a million qubit quantum computer to solve complex problems beyond the capabilities of classical computers. Again, this is big news. They announced it, I believe, earlier this week. His name is Chetan Nayak, who is a technical fellow and a corporate vice president of quantum hardware at Microsoft, explained that the new qubit design is small, fast, and again, digitally controlled, which is an improvement on other quantum computers that they've been working on. What are your thoughts on Microsoft basically developing a method and an architecture to basically shave off, I would assume, around roughly 5 more years of what it would take to make a quantum computer? And what do you think they're going to use it for?
Well, I can tell you what they're going to use it for. AI will be what it's used for. And I think AI is part of the reason they've been able to shave years off of it, because like we were talking about off mic, companies have got to find a way to efficiently process this AI that we're using, and the potential growth of AI that they want us and these companies to use. And it kind of all ties together. We talked about DeepSeek a couple of weeks ago that claimed that they had done it on a fraction of done AI on a fraction of a budget as to what Microsoft has, asked investors for and what they have, money they have gotten. So we're dependent upon NVIDIA right now for the GPUs to process this. We have heard that Google is coming up with a CPU that can handle AI. We know that Microsoft build of last year showed off a data center rack with new processors that they were coming up with. And I think this quantum computing processor is just the next step of the process. I think everybody's like, okay, NVIDIA, we're dependent upon you. We're giving you millions of dollars. Investors are asking a lot of questions to these companies with AI right now, not just Microsoft. Investors are asking questions. What are you doing with our money? We keep hearing that things can be done cheaper. So you better start coming up with something too, because the more of this that they can do in-house with their own stuff, their own equipment, their own technology, the more money they can save and say, hey, look, investors, we not only have AI, but we've got this quantum computing chip over here that we developed, and we can run this a lot more efficiently and charge for it because now we can put this in our data centers,
Yeah,
and we can have various ways to get money back for you.
my only question is, at least for the AI part of this, is that the AIs that we currently have all have gobbled up the internet. All of man's knowledge that has been digitized is already in an AI model. And then they're basically having AI models retrain AI models now because they've run out of stuff to train it on, at least naturally given.
Mm-hmm.
Even with quantum computing, it, I don't think AI is ever going to cross the Rubicon of sentient thought because it will lack empathy and all emotional regress. I wonder if like it'll be faster, definitely faster, and perhaps have fewer hallucinations, maybe more accurate because it'll know we can set parameters on where it searches for information and gathers it and how it digests it. But I don't necessarily, even with the quantum computing, I don't see it being like that massively impressive, at least to the idea of what we think AI is going to be, AIG at least. That whole idea of like, this is a digitized person, so to speak. It helps you with everything that you need, as though you have, if I were to like digitize you, be like, hey, David is now my digital co-host. David unfortunately passed away, but now we have an AI version of David, and he will act, talk, and react like the David we all have grown to love over the years of podcasting. It won't be that. It'll be a version of you that is, has all the world's knowledge, but not necessarily the sense of humor and all the other stuff that comes along with David. So I'm
And,
impressed for it.
and I think that's part of it. It made me think of something. Go back to CES for a minute. It was kind of a, and it still pops in the headlines once in a while. Did you see the attempt at the digitized human that was based on AI, the robots? I
Mm-hmm.
think one was a female and one was a male, and I don't remember what company produced these robots for CES, but they did come out and say, we're still working on the emotional side, the empathy side. They were kind of like Rosie the robot from the Jetsons. They ask questions, get answer, or get suggestions. It was just coming out of a robotic mouth with a robotic face, that had hands and legs, so to speak. But I think you're 100% correct, and I think that's part of the problem we're going to hit. Is emotion is hard to recreate. Emotion about a human being is part of what is authentic. Some people cry over things, some people are excited over things, and that level and how they show that emotion is varies by person and by situation and person. So my lifetime, I don't see that barrier crossing. Maybe our grandkids see that barrier crossed, but
I mean,
and it's, I don't
how
know.
are they going to digitize being a Jets fan? The irrational love of a losing team. The computer's going to be like, this doesn't make sense. I can't do it. This breaks one of my computing laws of being a Jets
Well,
fan.
and that's part of it. We're making a little bit of a joke, but that's part of it. It's hard, you know. It's like when somebody passes away. Since you mentioned, having a digitized version of me. When somebody passes away, I've been through it. There are varying levels of emotion. There are, people that their world is crashed and they're not the same person
Mhm.
after that. And then there's people that handle it and process it and, continue on. And I have a hard time rationalizing that in my brain as to how a computer model will interpret that. Just sitting here having this conversation with our viewers and our listeners, I have a hard time processing in my mind. It's like, my mother passed away going on 2 years ago. I still feel a certain way over that today. And I remember what I felt the day she passed away. But then I remember watching what other family members felt. And for some of us, it was two different extremes,
Mhm.
you know. And I just don't see how quantum computing or whatever's after quantum computing or whatever's after AI computes emotion. Now, if somebody can show me that, I'd be happy to see it.
Yeah, no, again, we're talking as consumers, as fans of technology. I'm sure the research community is doing backflips and popping champagne right now because it will make their what took months and years of research and data and trial and error will probably be shortened by this quantum computing. You can put in your models for what you're trying to achieve and let the computer run all the possibilities at a blazing speed. And then you get back something that would have, again, cancer research, I could assume, which is taking months to years to do, will possibly be shortened by this. Research into AIDS, the epidemic, things like that. Like, I think this is where that kind of stuff will be more felt than necessarily AI. But they will try and use it for AI. They will definitely market that way, like you said. They have a reason to tell investors, hey, keep spending money. Because we are building this chip that will make the reason you're spending money be that much better. But I think the real effects at the end of the day will be felt more in research and in the science realm. With that being said, let's go talk about something more fun about gaming. You got a story about the Black Hawk Down game being available today. What are your plans? Are you leaving the pod as we speak? Are you getting ready to wrap it up?
Well, let's see. Just as soon as we tell people have a good weekend, I will be going to my Lenovo gaming PC and I will be downloading the Lenovo Black Hawk Down game, which it's Delta Force Black Hawk Down. And after doing a little bit of reading this morning for folks that didn't have to be productive today, let me give you some things that I have seen. Let me tell you what it is.
Mm-hmm.
There are two parts to this. There's Delta Force, which is a multiplayer FPS tactical shooter type game. Think Battlefield. It's not quite the running gun of Call of Duty. Think Battlefield, think the Ready or Nots, think the Rainbow Sixes, the ones that are a little more tactical and require you to use the old noggin a little bit. You can't just kind of run and gun your way through. Delta Force has been a very popular title that has gone head to head with Battlefield 2042 and some of the other Battlefields. It's been out, I guess, about a year. I've been playing that as a multiplayer. Now we have Delta Force Black Hawk Down, which was promised right before the holidays, which is a co-op campaign version of Black Hawk Down, of Delta Force, if that makes sense. So you've got two things here. You've got your Delta Force, which is your multiplayer, then your Delta Force Black Hawk Down, which is your co-op, quote unquote, single player style game. Mm-hmm. Now, what I have seen this morning is reviews are kind of mixed, and there's not many reviews out yet. There's not anybody necessarily saying the gameplay is bad, but what I have seen is both versions of the game are required. When you go on Steam, I went on Steam this morning just to see if it was there before the pod. Black Hawk Down, Delta Force Black Hawk Down is there as a downloadable title. Delta Force is also there as a downloadable title. And while I have not tried it myself yet because I had things to do in the pod to prepare for, gamers are saying that both are required to play Black Hawk Down. That the Delta Force runs in the background, I guess in some kind of virtual machine type way, for Black Hawk Down, the co-op to play. So keep that in mind. You're probably going to have both. I know a lot of people would go, well, I'm going to play the single player or the co-op, so I'll go delete the multiplayer. I have already seen reports that that's a mistake. You've got to have both to do this. Now, there's also supposedly a console version coming. I saw mention of that on their website. There's no dates for that. The mobile version, you can sign up for the mobile beta on their website. I have signed up for the beta to try it out on a new Samsung S25 that I finally got an upgrade for. Thank you, folks, for Yeah, thank you, folks, for the few folks that have emailed me and said, David, why are you using a 5, 10-year-old phone? So hopefully I will get accepted into that. But what I would like to know, if anybody plays this game, what do you think of it? It's something different. It's not your Call of Duty. It's not your Battlefield. It's not totally tactical. It's somewhere in between. And a lot of gamers, myself included, believe this independent independent-ish developer has took over Battlefield, which is the big EA shooter military war franchise. I've played it. I tend to agree. Now, we've heard EA is coming out with a new Battlefield. They're getting the people together to build it, supposedly as we speak. There's no betas or anything like that yet, but supposedly it's in development.
Mhm.
So, what do you folks think of this? Does it compare to Battlefield? Is it better? Is it worse? Is it the same? Is it different now that we have co op and now that we have multiplayer? I want some feedback.
Yeah, you, ladies and gentlemen, should give him feedback. I haven't played the game, but if there's a free way to try it out, which who knows,
Yeah, it's
uh,
free. I
then
did.
hey,
I
go
need to
ahead.
throw that in there. This is a free title right now. The
Well,
multiplayer and the single player is a free title.
well, I know what I'll be doing this weekend then, so I will get back to you next week with my opinions on the game. How about that?
Sounds good. You will probably find me in there with you somewhere, my friend.
Cool. I'll be looking out for that. That'd be great. That'll be our first online gaming encounter, I should say. With that being said, we're going to move on to we got another story of yours, I believe, which is Apple announcing a budget iPhone.
Oh boy, this one was good and a little bit surprising because Apple had put out a little teaser. Tim Cook had posted a teaser on X that they would be announcing a new device to the lineup this week. And boy, people went crazy. Everybody thought, okay, we're getting a new iPod, not iPod, new AirPod. Everybody thought we were getting the AirPod with the video screen, but nobody that I saw, I'm sure somebody out there does, but nobody that I saw a new, smaller, inexpensive iPhone coming. So I
I
kind of
mean,
looked at that too.
technically speaking, neither did Apple because it's not that inexpensive.
No, it's $5.99. Kind of goes after the iPhone SE, which came out a couple years ago now. They have
Mhm.
done away with the, I think they call it the touch button or whatever. What's the official name of that button on the bottom of the devices?
That's a good question.
Um, I'm
Whatever.
gonna call
You
it
guys, yeah.
I'm gonna call it Touch ID for right now. That they've done away
Right.
with with the Touch ID button. They have put a brand new. This is probably one of the bigger things that Apple is proud of. Consumers, I'm not sure will care. They have put their own modem called the C1 in this device, which they say because it's their modem, it's built in with their hardware that they control. The battery life and performance is better. Supposedly, it supports all bands. We'll have to wait and see how good, bad, or ugly it performs. It comes in two colors. It comes in white and it comes in black. So they're keeping it simple. The price is what Apple calls a cheap $5.99. It has a two-in-one camera system, a 48 megapixel single lens camera with night mode and portrait support. The high resolution sensor does allow a 2x crop, and it is a 4K 60 supported video. Now, let's see, there was one more thing I was going to mention here. It does have Face ID, it does have the satellite communication that we've heard mentioned with the Starlink integration for basic texting or calls when you're somewhere where you don't have service. It is roughly a 6.1-inch screen. It does not have MagSafe, which is the magnetic charging that is kind of making its way across the industry. Apple has had MagSafe for a while. But MagSafe has also come to the new Samsung lineup. My S25 has MagSafe capabilities. So basically, you're getting the iPhone SE for $599. You're getting USB-C support in this one, which you did not get in the older model. You're getting satellite communication and a single camera, and it's a $599 device. Now, I look at this two ways, and I'm sure my esteemed co-host over here can add a third. Um, why did they launch this device? Do they see a market out there that wants the cheaper iPhone that is not buying their device, and they're hoping you will? Or are they seeing that iPhone sales have plateaued or even dropped and have said, look, let's just put out something basic and kind of see what people do with it? What do people want their phones to do? Because, you know, smartphones are getting more intelligent each release. They're adding features, they're putting buzz in there. The new Samsung phone that I have here on the back of it, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 camera lenses. Those camera lenses have to be paid for. They have to be profited. Everybody's got them. And this is we're back to the single lens, 48 megapixel, 4K video. So I'm sure there's a group out there that wants a cheaper iPhone, and Apple wants to see you go purchase it. I also think there's a group out there that's in between the cheap iPhone and the expensive iPhone, and they're going back to the drawing board a little bit. What do you do with the phone? What do you want? Do you need all this camera technology and all this MagSafe, or do people just want to plug a USB-C cord in and go? If so, then maybe we can look at doing this in a larger model in the future and reducing cost. Because these things, each smartphone went up at least $100 this year, I believe. So we may be approaching the plateau of what people are willing to pay for these things too.
I mean, we're going to find out. The companies, that's their job, is to make sure they can push the envelope as to what we will pay and pull out of our pockets and wallets to get these new devices. I think the release of this is, could be geopolitical with the way that tariffs are going. So they're just trying to get as many of these devices
Could
into
be.
the U as quickly as possible. They might have had these on the shelf waiting to maybe round out their device lineup later this year or maybe next year. But they're like, hey, if we're going to potentially suffer the consequences of importing these in, we might as well get them in before tariffs hit. My idea is that they are squeezing the lower end market. They know that their base will stick with them through their potential phone life cycle. What they're trying to do is get people who bought their grandparents or who handed over their old iPhones to say, here, grandma, here's a new iPhone for you. And I get to either keep mine or upgrade to the newer one and trade that one in. And then they take that trade in and give it to India or China as part of their, Tim Cook is of anything a master at the supply chain. And
Yes.
he's mastering how to get these phones back and then recycle them and resell them at a profit, even 4 or 5 years later. What this does is give kids who are now entering the phone market and parents who don't want to necessarily buy them like you said, the $13, $14, $1,500 phone, but they want to make sure that they get most of those capabilities and make sure that they start off as an Apple fan with this $500 phone. And I know phones are getting outlawed in middle school and high school and stuff like that, but there's still, public schools that allow it. And so you're saying, hey, here's your first phone. It's a $500, $600 iPhone that does most of what mom and dad's phone does, or whatever your friends might have. Here you go. And now they're on their way of being a loyal Apple person who will, drop their Chromebooks from school and be like, no, I want a Mac now because this phone that I've got for $500, $600 taught me the way. I paired it with the iPads that we use in school, and it's amazing. Now I want the computers when I go to college. I think that's more of this area. What used to be the case would be like, hey, here's an old Android phone that takes great pictures. It does most of the apps that you need. We'll get you an iPhone later. Now they can say we can get you an iPhone sooner. That's the only reason why I can think that they would make this phone, especially replacing the SE, is that they just had the R&D, the tooling already done for regular iPhones. They said get rid of the button. We're no longer doing buttons ever again. It was an extra component. We've excised that from our lineup for the most part. We kept making it, but it was costly to us. Now we can just kind of, basically stamp the new phone just in a smaller shell. That we can take the SE shell and stamp the new features and stuff on this phone, and it makes making these phones cost us much less than having to go into the old bin parts over here and be like, all right, where's that button piece at? All right, put it on this phone, ship it out. Now it's take the SE body and put all the stuff that we spent all this R&D in for the new phones into this one. Saves us some money, gets us a new audience.
Excuse me, and I expect you are 100% correct because Samsung kind of does the same thing with the FE models.
Exactly.
They have an FE. They have an FE just about everything. I found yesterday they actually have FE earbuds. I did not know that. They have
Yeah.
an FE tablet. They
Yep.
have the FE phone, which is kind of, they call it Fan Edition, where they supposedly have listened and put the most popular features into this phone and sell it cheaper and kind of take away the high resolution screen or even the high refresh rates at times to where it's a little cheaper. I can see where Apple would do this, like you mentioned, in the school systems, especially. Hey, we use Apple at school. Apple has these education contracts. And look, we used the Apple education. I cannot think of the name of it off the top of my head, but they've got a whole system, kind of like Chromebook does, to where you log in, you've got your notes there, it syncs with the phone. And to your point, voila, they sell it to the third or fourth, fifth grader, and then mom and dad goes and buys the phone, and then mom and dad goes and buys the iPad. You get the picture.
Yeah. I mean, hey, all the power to them. People who I think, it's always nice to be able to get things cheaper. And if you can get 80% of, what everyone's using for, 60% off, 50% off, go for it.
Mhm.
So, I don't begrudge them that. I hope that Samsung and OnePlus and Google, who used to kind of be known for that, find their way find their way to doing very similar things this year with their phones as well. That being said, we're going to move on to another story, which is, and I think the reason why I didn't have it on here in the orders because I missed the banner for it. But basically, here we go. Let me just take this banner off. We have a new Edge, new-ish Edge for people. Microsoft has upgraded its Microsoft Edge browser to what they call Web UI 2.0. We wrote about this on the pod. I think we even talked about. I mean, I wrote about it on the website. I think we talked about it on the pod months ago that they were experimenting with this. They finally upgraded it. You should be seeing the benefits of this when you get your new update to Edge. It'll be a little green circle with green words in it saying update. Push that button. What you should experience when you do though is a browser that apparently is about 42% faster according to Microsoft.
Hmm.
And it can also be up to 72% faster on devices without SSDs. So you'll see a huge jump if you're on a spinning hard drive still for whatever reason, um, or you have something that's less than 8 gigabytes of RAM. So they basically tweak performance down to make sure that everyone has a very smooth experience with this device. Usually people develop for optimization up. Like, hey, you got 18 gigs, this thing will work perfectly. You got 8 gigs, you're going to suffer. This way, they've kind of tuned it down. Some of the improvements, again, we should see is the way that it renders web pages. That again should always be faster with this new version. And the way again, what they've done with Web UI 2.0, for those of you who are wondering what that is, it's a new markup first architecture, which minimizes the size of code bundles and reduces the amount of JavaScript code running during initialization. That means that the UI is primarily built using HTML and CSS, which are faster to load and render compared to JavaScript. Ironically, Chromium originally was made to leverage JavaScript heavily, and that's kind of Microsoft moved from, I believe they had Edge HTML for uh, Internet Explorer. It was their kind of their proprietary thing. They use a Trident engine and Edge HTML to kind of render those pages. It was good. It wasn't as optimized, or at least as not widely supported. It seems like they're going to try and do a mix of the two now in this version of Edge, where they still use JavaScript because it's widely developed on most web pages. Answer to those calls, and then they're going to tweak it a little bit with this HTML and CSS to kind of speed up those calls once they are dialed in. There should be performance on low-end devices, like we mentioned earlier, that works. There's open source plans. Microsoft plans to make some of these packages open source to benefit all developers. Again, kind of feeding back into the system, like, hey, we took Chromium from everybody and used master JavaScript with it. Now here's some parts that help everyone who still uses this version. Maybe not necessarily the Google version, but this version, and speed up things on your own. Microsoft says they're going to have continuous improvement, but I've rambled on long enough. What are your thoughts? I don't know if have you downloaded or upgraded to this new version of Edge, and if you've experienced any benefits from it.
I did download an update last night and tinker with it a little bit. So I'm assuming that that was the update that I downloaded. It did seem to be more snappy, but I'm going to look at it this way. Edge has always been a snappier browser to me than Chrome on the machines that I use. I'm glad that Microsoft is doing this. Like you said, I don't understand, how many people out there would be still on a spinning hard drive that might benefit from, the performance changes. For those that are, I'm glad these are there. But browsers in general need to get better. We've kind of hit a lull in Chrome came out and everybody, it felt like a mass exodus. Everybody went from what was Internet Explorer at the time over to Chrome. Okay, everybody was using Chrome, and Microsoft has battled back with using the Chromium engine to base it off of, or base Edge off of the Chromium engine, and they have tweaked it with such things as, like you said, making the interface more HTML and CSS based instead of being Java based, which is, for you developers out there, Java is inherently slower. That's the way it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I use dual browsers. I use Edge. I use Chrome. You probably do the same. They've got, Edge has always had this thing to where you can sign into your Google account and it will bring your data over. It does an okay job. But things like passwords, things like, people that put their credit card numbers in, those things don't always apple and apple over. And I think that sends people right back to Chrome in some ways because that's where they're comfortable. And I think when you buy an Android phone, for example, what do you see in the bottom corner? Chrome is there.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you go. That's what the phone is based around. When you search Google, it opens in Chrome. When you do something with Gemini, it opens in Chrome. So I think there's still a hurdle to get over for Microsoft to continue to grab that bigger share of the browser space, because my phone is Chrome. My PC that we're doing this podcast on right now, Chrome is what's open. And everything syncs together. Everything syncs together with Edge as well. But what's default on my phone? What does Android automatically default to? And when those things get out of sync, folks, it's a pain in the butt. When you're like, well, I looked at this on my desktop. Where the heck is it? Oh, I used a different browser over there. So I get it. Good job, Microsoft. I'm not downing what you did here. But we need to come up with a way to better synchronize all of this We need to put this technology in Chrome, make Chrome better. I'm sure if they're going to open source it, it'll happen. But when you open, for example, everybody talks about, well, I had 60 tabs open and 3 screens, and I'm a busy person. I've got 1 screen, 2 screens, 3 screens, 4 screens right here. I open many tabs a day, many windows a day. I mean, Edge handles that better. Yes, I have tried it. Edge will handle that a whole lot better than Chrome does. Chrome still chews up RAM like cookies. Edge does not. But why do I use Chrome? Because when I pick up my phone, I can tap something and see very quickly the tabs that were open on my desktop and access it. There's still part of
Yeah.
this that's missing, I think.
Now, to Microsoft defense, they can do that. The only thing that they're missing is the default position on a phone. They used to have it on
Yeah.
Samsung phones, but they can get it back where it's like, hey, we're going to at least show you the Edge icon. We may default to the Samsung Internet Explorer experience, whatever, what they call Samsung Internet, but at least the icon is on there when they used to have a bundle like Office products, like in a thing. I don't know if that
It's
deal
not there
expired
anymore.
or what. Right. Maybe they need to get that back so that Edge will at least be an option on there. Because again, I think people at work moved from Internet Explorer that to Edge, so they may be using Edge at work and have an idea of how to use it, and then they go to their phone, or they go home on their Mac and they put up Chrome. I think if they were to have that same icon, be like, hey, that's the icon from work on my phone, I can either at least bring my work over and use that just as well and efficiently. They may start to use that and get acquainted with it and be like, hey, maybe I can use it for personal. But you can definitely pull up your tabs that you saw on your PC on your Edge browser on your phone and vice versa. And they have a new drop feature which will allow you to basically, if you were like saving pages or there's collections that sync over, like they have that there. It's just they don't have it as the default. So you have to do a little, just another step of work beyond what Chrome does. And I think that's to your point of like, once you introduce that step, people are like, I'm out. I'm done. I don't want any of this business. I wanted convenience. We got a couple more stories, then we'll wrap this up so you guys can go start playing the new game this weekend. We'll be talking about Intel doubling down on handheld gaming. Speaking of gaming, Intel, believe, talked earlier this week about the opportunity in handheld gaming. They say they're committed to increasing support for handheld gaming manufacturers and aim to challenge AMD's dominance in the market. It's big talk from a company that's kind of down on its knees right now. But hey, the only place you can go from here is up, hopefully.
Oh.
Hopefully they've hit rock bottom and now they can start to redeem themselves and make a run at it. Because this is a space, I think, you and I both agree as gamers and gaming fans, where they can make strides. Their latest chip with this integrated graphics is getting, pretty decent reviews, positive, definitely positive, cautiously optimistic for what they're offering. And they have Asus, Alienware, MSI, I think, and Lenovo. And if Dell ever decides to jump into this, Dell proper, they have those partnerships and contracts in place and just can say, hey, you guys keep making those devices and we'll keep tweaking our chips to help support that. They have a support network, which they plan to beef up staffing and support for ISVs, independent software vendors, and providing more assistance to manufacturers. So they're going to put some money aside for that. They're going to start offering developer kits. Intel plans to supply game developers with prototype devices and dev kits leading into the launch of Panther Lake. I apologize. In the Arrowhead Lake handhelds, Intel showcased some upcoming ones based on Arrow Lake's SoC. They showed those at CES earlier this year. And again, they offer substantially better, relatively speaking, GPU performance. So we look forward to that. And then Panther Lake is the next generation mobile chip, which will allow for even greater customizations and are intended to build on the success of Lunar Lake, which Lunar Lake was known for its accidental success. It was known for the way that the architecture was built. Um, but it's mainly was known for optimizations as far as battery performance is concerned and heat and throttling. So if we can combine all of that, better integrated GPUs, cooler and longer lasting running chips in these handheld devices, that's a win-win for everybody. The future plans for Intel, they have a roadmap that includes again continued support of handheld gaming PCs with a focus on performance and power efficiency. And again, that's to rival AMD, which is getting off the bat with, I believe SteamOS has got theirs, and the MSI one I think you mentioned is going to be running an AMD chip in there as well. So I see this as a net positive. This is just further validation that handheld gaming is probably your new gaming frontier. Less about the towers and $5,000 GPUs, and more about, hey, let's get more powerful versions of the Switch into more people's hands so they can just start gaming anywhere.
You know, I 100% support this one. I'm a gaming fanatic, so to speak. Gaming is what I do. I guess somebody could say David doesn't have a social life. You would be partly right to some degree. But you are correct. I think we're to the point where people are just tied to their devices. They do not, and we have mentioned this before, they do not, not gonna say they don't want it, but having 4K 120 frames per second is less important than what we thought it was going to be when the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation 5 Pro came out. I think everybody was, even when the Xbox Series X was marketed, it still says 8K ready on the box. Now what that means, I don't know. Will the device show me 8K 30? It might. I don't know. We haven't gone there, but we've also not gone fully 4K yet either. It was a big deal that the Super Bowl a few weeks ago was broadcast in 4K. If you watched it on Tubi, you got it in 4K for free. Okay, we get one sports event a year broadcast in 4K. I think it's taken this time to figure out that, fidelity is nice, but fidelity is not all there is. I think we're kind of going back to, I remember coming home from school and picking up my Game Boy with its 4 AA batteries in the back and, sitting on the bed or sitting on the couch or sitting on the floor, and sit there and play Mario till the batteries ran dead. And I went and get 4 more batteries and go back and play again, and then we got consoles after that. And I see a shift in this market of, we've seen the PCs. I'm going to bring one up. The Asus Z13 has just hit reviewers' hands. Maybe we will get one. It's hitting retail here shortly. AMD's chip is integrated GPU is said to be on par with the dedicated NVIDIA 460s and maybe even a 470. There you go. It's integrated. Better battery life. Take it anywhere. It's smaller because there's less chips in it. There's less heat to dissipate. People are going back, I think, to just having fun. I mean, I don't mean to put it this corny, but by watching people and watching what people write and seeing people in stores and talking to my own family and my own friends, I feel like people just, to Phil Spencer's point, play anywhere. They just want access to their titles because we are all going so many different directions these days. Work from home, kids, family, this event over here that we want to be a part of, this social cause over here that we want to be a part of. We want to get on a plane. We want to fly over here to be a part of this social event. Well, there's time in there to where you pick up these devices and you play your game. Now, I guess, the next question could be, do we go from handheld devices to phones. We'll have to wait and see.
I
You
don't
know,
think there's going to
that
be that much of a distinction shortly. I think you're going to have phones that are foldables or whatever, but where we keep inching up to the large screens, you're going to have essentially a 7-inch screen that you could just turn sideways with. Maybe you either connect. We're seeing these like mods that connect actual controller buttons on it, or you just get better touch interfaces for gaming. Something I thought the Surface Duo was on the brink of doing before Microsoft gave up.
it was
But
close.
to your point, that was a good way to blur the lines. I was going to say that it is less about fidelity, which used to sell consoles. It used to be like, hey, can you, for old school gamers like ourselves who had the 8-bit graphics that are now evolved into 4K, it was like, every time we got an advancement in game development, it was like, can you believe how cool this looks? I think
Yeah.
we're going to get less about how cool things look and just how fun was the gameplay. To your point, like the content is now going to sell it, and 4K is going to look cool, but if you're playing Forza or if you're playing Gran Turismo, yeah, the light beaming off the side of the car looks amazing. But how's the crash detection? How's the shading? How's the some of this other stuff is more important, and I think that's where it plays to the handheld gaming advantage. Like, yeah, you can still get 4K on there. These OLED screens can still pump that out if you wanted that higher fidelity, but I can access this game in my hand while my kid watches the TV and get that experience, the content, versus like, okay, I need to watch it on my 8K ready TV, pushed from my 8K supported PC that's running. I have to run a separate freezer next to the PC in order to keep it cool in order to play this because it looks so amazing. It's that's still part of gaming, but I think the idea of like, I bought this $500, $600 thing, and I can put it in my bag when I go travel. I can put it in my bag when I need to, and while I'm waiting for my kids' recital to start and play a quick game or something like that. It's that part of the gaming aspect that's opening up, I think, and it just goes to the content. You just want to play the thing. You want to enjoy whatever that aspect is before considering how well it plays or how
Let me give you an example of something that's already out there that people may have looked over that I have followed since launch day, and I really wish we'd been in a position to review one. The Logitech G Cloud. That device has been out well over a year.
yeah.
And when that device first came out, it was people just ragged it to death. But that is one device that the longer it stays on the market, I watch it regularly. The better the reviews get, the higher the ratings get. Because all that device is basically a Nintendo Switch type device that is powered by Android that gives you access to your Android games, your Xbox Cloud, your PlayStation Cloud, your GeForce Now, and it's on sale right now for $259. It's a store-wide sale at Logitech, Amazon, Walmart, Best Buy, etc. It's on sale for $259. And I have consistently watched the reviews of this product because I have always thought we're seeing what gamers want. And to your point, we're seeing it change because people continue to buy this product, and the 5-star reviews keep getting longer and longer and longer. And all that device is a 1080p screen, 60 hertz. You can plug an HDMI via USB-C to HDMI into it and put it on a PC screen. And it's got Bluetooth if you want the bigger controller. And I keep watching it. I keep paying attention to it. And we kind of alluded to it off mic. Fidelity is less. Gameplay is more. Because there was a developer, 8-bit or something, that did a Battlefield clone about a year ago. And the characters and the scenery were ASCII characters. Yes, no graphics, just ASCII characters and outlines of. And that game was on top of the Steam rankings for weeks. I don't remember the title. I need to go look. but it was on top of the Steam rankings for weeks. I bought a copy of it just because what it was. I wanted to see it. To today's games, it looked terrible. There was no graphic to talk about. It was ASCII characters.
I mean, kids are
But
playing Minecraft like crazy.
yeah, but it was wonderful. It was a wonderful game. And to your point, my nieces, my older nieces, are Minecraft fanatics. Roblox, I think is what it's called. Roblox. There's I don't think gamers care as much about fidelity as much as we once did, and as much as some of these game developers and console makers think that we do.
Well, like I
To,
said, it
to
used to
the
push the needle. It used to sell devices because that was the next generation of visualizations. I think people are being a little more cautious with their money in light of inflation and wage stagnation. They're saying, all right, what's the best experience I can get for this dollar amount?
Well, can let me ask you a question. Can you, when you look at a let's take Call of Duty, very popular game. It's a fast-paced game. You're constantly moving. You're constantly twitching around. When you put it on a 14, if you take a 27-inch 1440p screen and you play the game, and you take the same 27-inch screen in 4K and you play the game, while you're playing the game, do you notice the difference? I don't.
You know, that definitely
And
doesn't
I,
help me shoot better. I'll tell you that right now.
yeah, and I think fidelity has topped out at 4K. And there's titles like Spider-Man that are slower titles that you pay attention to your surroundings a little more. Okay, yeah, that makes more sense at a 4K 60 or even a 4K 30. But when you look at what some people are playing, I don't think, I mean, it's just like this Delta Force game. It does 4K very well. I've got a 4K screen. I've also got a Lenovo screen that is 1440p. I play it on the 1440p screen. The response time's better.
Now, with that being said, I want to reserve our opinions for when Grand Theft Auto comes out, because who knows? We might be saying, "Oh, this is where it's at. This is where we needed to stay."
That's true. You know, Grand Theft Auto has kind of been the benchmark for some of these for years. You know, so
Yeah.
Grand Theft Auto may shift the whole paradigm somewhere else.
All right, we got our last story we're gonna wrap up, which is Amazon shutting down its app store. You want to bring this one into the fold? Talk about it.
Yes, I was kind of surprised. Well, was I surprised or was I not? I can't tell you. Um, Amazon has decided that they are done with the Amazon Google App Store. Now, I didn't use it. I'm going to be bluntly honest with you. I didn't use it,
You're the
and I
problem.
don't think. You know, maybe I am the problem, but I
You play
don't think
like
I
Taylor
was.
Swift song.
Don't get me started.
Hey, it's
But
me.
yeah, hey, it's me again. But anyway, before we get on the topic of Mr. and Mrs. Kelsey, it is August 20th of 2025. The Amazon store will be shutting down. You can, if you have an app in the store now, you can submit updates to that app until that day. You cannot add new apps at this point in time. So, what's Amazon saying here? I think there's a bigger picture.
Yeah,
They
I'll jump in and say that just as a note, the store remains on the Fire tablets, obviously, because that is basically the core of the OS experience. But they're saying what we all kind of figured. Like it's the same thing with like the Samsung store. You're doubling your efforts on a store that's already satiating a need for people. The apps that they need get development straight from the developer. They get support from them on this app store. What do I need Amazon apps for? What specifically do you offer, Amazon, as an app that I was like, hey, I need to get this, other than the actual store itself, other than the Amazon, I need to go buy something and have it shipped to me within the next 16 hours. Other than that, what is an app that isn't AWS related that you're like, I gotta have? I mean, they offer their own version of Office, I believe. I mean, I can go get
They
Office,
do.
or I can get Pages, or I can get Sheets and stuff from Google, from the App Store, or from on iOS. I can get it from their version of productivity apps. There's nothing that Amazon necessarily offers that they could drive people to the store. I think they're realizing, like, and this is what, 10 years running now. So they've been at this for a while, trying to, or not trying to, lure people into their app store. And I think they're just coming to the final conclusion to say, all right, this was a failed effort. Let's pack it up. Let's put our resources towards something else, because we couldn't compete with Google's Play Store.
Now, I want to ask you a question. What store have we been waiting? Let's see, we're about 2 months away. What store have we been waiting a year for? The Xbox store.
Walmart, right? Walmart. Is that what it is? Nope. Just kidding. We've been waiting for Microsoft to do it, and I think I'm going to jump you here and say, well, Microsoft be making this exact same decision.
That's where I was going with it. That's exactly where I was going with it. I'm like, is this part of the reason that we haven't heard not one peep out of the Xbox store since about August or September of last year?
Epic is going at it because they do at least have Fortnite. Whether or not you get any other Epic games from that store is going to be up for question, but they at least have Fortnite as like the thing that breaks the dam.
I want to add one thing to this now. Keep it real quick. You know where Epic and Microsoft really dropped the ball? This is terrible. Over Christmas, my family members are like all others right now. They're Fortnite fanatics. I bought my nephew some Fortnite gift cards. I bought these gift cards from Amazon. They came via Epic. Okay, he gets his gift cards. They give you the digital code. Guess what? You cannot use the digital code on the Xbox. They do not tell you this. You have to research this yourself. We researched this on Christmas morning to try to figure this out. You have to go to some third-party Epic webpage, get the game card converted to an Xbox gift card, and then put that into your console so your kid or whoever's playing Fortnite can enjoy the gift card. Now, you want to talk about digital stores dropping the ball. To me, that was a ball drop on all four sides.
I totally agree. I think I mean, it's interesting how that works, because I think Epic, if I had to guess, and this is probably on Microsoft as well, but I think the way Epic is doing the gift card is if you purchase it in store, so you buy it from a Target, or your local grocery store, or Walmart, or whatever, that card has to be used on 3 different platforms that Epic can't accommodate for. So imagine if your niece or nephew wanted to use that on their iPhone for all of the gameplay that they've done there. They can't go in automatically and use that card. They have to go through the Epic Store, because Epic Store isn't on the iPhone anymore. So I think that's where they're funneling all that activity. And instead of having a partnership with Microsoft to say, all right, well, you're not like Apple, you and I can work together, they're just saying everybody who wants to use a gift card has to come through us first, no matter which platform you want to use it on. So if you want to use it on your PC via Steam, if you want to use it via our app on PC, if you want to use it on the Xbox, you want to use it on the PlayStation, you want to use it on the iPhone, either way, you have to go to our webpage first and convert it to whatever platform you're going to use it for, because we don't know. All we know is that gift card, the hard copy, was sold to you somewhere. It gives you enough credits to use on the game itself, but we don't know where you're playing that game on. So before you play it on anything, convert it to whatever platform you need to. It's like the Visa gift card. It's we don't know where you're going to spend it. It's just a Visa gift card, and fortunately, I think again, that's just me guessing. I could be wrong. It could just be like, hey, nobody's talking to anybody, and they're just like, screw it, you already bought it, good luck. But to your point, I
You know,
think they need to at least write it on the card.
yeah, it needs to be on the card because at first, when I realized, I did like everybody else. I went to the redeem a card for him, and we were doing it for him, and typed it in, and the Microsoft said no, that's not a valid code, and we're like, okay, what do we do? So back to the browser topic, one of us pulls up a browser on a phone, and we're like, oh, you got to go through this and get it converted to this, and we were like, why did we not just buy an Xbox gift card to start with and really and truly that cuts Epic out of the deal. Epic's kind
You
of
do it
chopping
that way,
their
yeah.
own, they're chopping their own foot off here because if I'd have just went and say bought him a $50 Xbox gift card, he would have put that in his Xbox. It would have took it directly, and then when he'd have bought something in the Epic store, it would have took it, Epic the Epic title, it would have took it off his gift card, and away you go. Now I'm sure Epic gets a cut of that in there somewhere, I'm sure, but they kind of take themselves right out of the deal, which I understand what you're saying, but in 2025, things like little APIs, programming APIs is what solves that. And if we've
Right.
got to the point, if we've got to the point where these store makers will not communicate enough to allow an API to access, who needs to be where, we got some real problems.
Yeah, it goes to our last story, which is real quick, but it's basically a former Amazon uh, gaming executive was on LinkedIn expressing how Amazon has basically fumbled their efforts to put gaming on PCs or at least compete with PC stores like Steam or whatnot. He goes into some details on it. I was reading about it earlier. For those of you who want all of the juicy details, go hang out at our friends over at Windows Central. I'm sure they'll talk about it in their podcast as well. But the gist of it is basically that they bought Twitch thinking like, hey, that's the first way we're going to compete. They had Luna. That was another way that they can compete. But they realized that neither one of those things basically correlated to bringing people over. People will
Mm-hmm.
stay on the platforms that they have history with already, unless you have a very compelling reason to move them. Amazon still hasn't found that yet. For those of you who are on Luna, express to us why you're there and what was compelling enough, and maybe express that to Amazon so they can market whatever it was for that. But people who are on Twitch, have their libraries on Steam, they have their awards, they have their communications via Discord or via the Twitch platform itself. But there's no reason to explore the Amazon gaming store via PC, especially when you already have Steam there. Now you're having Game Pass kind of encroach. So, what are your thoughts on that? Because I feel like it's really an overall acknowledgement that they have kind of failed when it comes to stores in general. I mean, we know that they're going to be getting rid of their Amazon store on PCs pretty soon, and they were giving up on this Amazon Android app store. They've basically dropped out of offering any competitive reason to do gaming via their store on PC as well. I think that again they still run Luna, but that's more like xCloud versus Game Pass. I think Amazon is just coming to the realization, like aside from the Amazon proper, the big yellow box app, they're not good at stores
Well, let me ask you a question. Who knew that Amazon owned Twitch? Who actually knew that? If you
outside of
were
us.
not
Yeah,
if you were not in the tech industry, you did not know that. And I think Amazon missed a big boat right there. They threw the football over top of it or whatever they did. There is no Amazon marketing. There has never been any Amazon marketing that I have seen to connect the fact that Amazon has service, that Amazon has a place to buy your gaming peripherals, a place to buy anything gaming basically inside
I
of
I would
Twitch.
argue that more people know that Microsoft failed with Mixer than people know
Yeah,
that Amazon owns Twitch.
I would totally agree, and I think that's where Amazon missed the boat because there's millions of people on Twitch. They're paying millions of people that they've got, big creators on Twitch. Right there, they could have took Amazon Prime, Amazon Gaming Store. They could have really just kind of shoved it in there and said, look, oh, we see you're playing Call of Duty. in your stream. You can buy this accessory over here on Amazon because you're playing it on our platform, your new gaming keyboard, your new headset, or you can go purchase it in our store and press the button and stream it on our platform. They have Amazon to me comes across as a company that has individual products. They have the marketplace, they have Alexa, and for the sake of this discussion, let's throw Twitch and Luna in the same conversation. You never see those products come together. Even Alexa, you don't see deep integration with Alexa into the Amazon store. You
Hey,
do see it.
that's what Panos Panay is for.
Yeah, maybe that's what he's there to do. You do see a little bit of an integration between the Amazon video services and some of the Alexa services. But even I've got a Google TV. Guess who doesn't show up when they go to collaborate all your shows together, on the main screen there? This is what we think you would want to watch. Guess who doesn't show up?
Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime.
Well,
So I feel like they're missing the integration and the work together pieces that, not saying it would have saved their efforts, but I don't think it would have harmed them.
no, but I mean, in all fairness, they have all the money in the world. They have time to figure it out, I think. We'll see how streamlining a lot of this process goes. Again, Luna, they haven't given up on it, so we'll see if they can retool it and have it compete, at least as far as a gaming destination for people versus a gaming store. That being said, what are you looking forward to this weekend? Before we give everyone your socials, what are you going to be doing?
I'm gonna definitely be trying out this Delta Force Black Hawk Down, and I'll know by Sunday night whether that is worth your time, worth your effort. If I do anything else, it will be on the racing simulator. But Delta Force Black Hawk Down has my attention for right now.
And where can people find you if they want to talk to you about that?
David PAJ 1978. Let's go with just Blue Sky from now on. I know I have mentioned the others, but Blue Sky, their bot control is getting a little better. Their content feeds are becoming a little more accurate. Blue Sky's doing a good job, so that's kind of where I want to be.
I'm going to be all over the place, and I say this aspirationally. Again, I have 8-year-old and a 7-year-old who are quite busy over the weekends. But if I could squeeze it in, I will be watching Invincible season 3. I think it is. We're on now. It's just I think we're on episode 5 as of yesterday. So I love that animated show. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty gory, pretty graphic. If you guys are interested in that. When I'm not watching shows, there are 2-3 games I'm going to try and play. I'm going to try and they just updated Marvel Rivals to include the rest of the Fantastic Four.
I saw that update.
I want to play Johnny Storm and Thing for a little bit. I will also be trying to play Black Hawk, as you had mentioned as well. That looks like it's going to be pretty fun. And there was another game, but I'm drawing a blank on it. But those are the 2 that I'm most looking forward to this weekend. You can find me on Blue Sky as well as under Happy Hope. It's right here on the screen. So reach out to us there. I am on Threads. I don't really react or respond on that, or Instagram. But if you are looking for conversation back and forth, I respond on Blue Sky pretty often. You can go visit our website for more articles and things that we'll be writing about throughout the week. We take the weekends off, so there won't be real news updated there. But please go read, comment if you like. We hope you guys enjoyed the pod. We hope you enjoy your weekend. We will catch up with you next week with more Microsoft news.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
See ya.